Okay, we're going for a ride out up to a little village called Middleton in Teesdale. It's where my dad's memorial bench is. And being the 6th of January, and the first real day to get the bike out, I thought I'd go up there, say Happy New Year to me dad. Well, his memorial bench anyhow. And at the same time, allow you to enjoy the journey too. I've just filled up there, ready for the adventure. Cost me £22 and the tank wasn't empty, it was still about a quarter full. When I first got my first FJR, which would be, well, a while ago, took me £19, between 18 and £19 to fill up. From the lights flashing to the absolute brim. Just goes to show how much fuel has increased, even for something as small as this, in such a short space of time. Coming into the outskirts of Darlington now. I moved into Darlington after I left the army, and that was an experience in itself. You'd think it was New Year or something still. Everybody out running, getting rid of the Christmas fair in their new gear. You don't tend to see many young people running. You know, as in teenagers or really early 20s. It's all us old gits trying to preserve the fountain of youth. And why not? Why not indeed? So we're heading now away from Darlington to Barnard Castle. Barnard Castle is actually a lovely market town. Beautiful place. But we're going to turn off as we get to the top of Barnard Castle. We're going to turn off and then head off towards Middleton in Teesdale. There's a building coming up on the left now, which used to be a nursing home. My father actually wanted to buy it many years ago, and when he died we found the paperwork. I knew he'd done it because I was around when he did it, but I never saw any of the paperwork. But he wanted to convert that into an outward bound centre. He went to the bank with his business plan and everything. Needless to say, it was turned down. But I was surprised just how much work he did put into it. And why he wanted to do it. And being a cop for 30 years, part of it was he wanted to bring the bad lads from all around the northeast, Durham and Sunderland and Newcastle, Middlesbrough, and bring them here to give them an experience of the outdoors, to see if he could change the way that they looked at lives themselves, you know, the underprivileged and so on. It was a great plan when I read it. But it never got off the ground, which was such a shame. He would have made a fantastic job of it. Here we are now, coming into Barnet Castle. I used to go to school here. Well, I did my last year at school here. When did I move here? I moved to Middleton and Teesdale when I was 14. Having lived with my mother for a little while, just wanted to be with my dad. And so I moved up here and did the last year. And the difference in school was amazing. The difference in friends was amazing. It was so much better living up here than it was in a horrible dump, as I would call it, called fence houses. And I also lived at the place, well, the place I lived before moving here was a place called Hortonley Spring. And in Hortonley Spring there was a little shopping arcade called Mortland Square. And we had a flat above the shops. And I absolutely hated it. Absolutely hated it. So when my dad came to live at Middleton and Teesdale, I would come up on the holidays and some weekends at the age of 12, 13 on a bus all on my own from Hortonley Spring all the way through up to here. See, nobody used to worry you back then. But then again, there wasn't the media that there is now to scare parents into thinking that everybody that looks at the child's a paedophile. Media's got a lot to bloody answer for. But when I show you the area that I moved into, you can understand why I wanted to come and live up here. And when I came up here for the first time, when I was greeted with a view like this, why wouldn't you want to move up here? The great outdoors of the Durham Dales, Teesdale. We're now on the roads where as a 16-year-old I bought my very first bike, the Yamaha FS1E, the renowned and famous Fizzy. Well, at 16 it gave me freedom that I'd never experienced before. I could just get on my Fizzy and ride round these roads. head down, arse in the air, trying to go as fast as you can. I think I might have even managed to get 40 mile an hour out of it down a bank. But it was my introduction to the world of motorbiking. Well, it wasn't. Well, that's a bit of a porky pie, really. It wasn't my introduction to motorbikes because my granddad, he was the one that introduced me to bikes. From as far back as I can possibly remember, we used to go through every Sunday. And it would be, Grandad, Grandad, get the bike out, get the motorbike out, come on, let's go for a ride. And he would get his bone dome out. This thing on the top of his head. In his old flying goggles. The 3/4 ones, I don't know if you've ever seen them, where 3/4 away from your nose, there's a line and it splits and the glass comes back in towards your face. And I'd put that on and we would go zooming around the Durham Dales, well, Weardale, Crook to be exact. And I'd have my arms round his waist and he would go as fast as he could on his BSA Bantam 175. So as soon as I was 16, in fact when I was 15, I couldn't wait to get my first bike. And I bought it from White Brothers in Darlington, who unfortunately last year, 2011 I think, or 10, he went into liquidation. He was scammed by somebody, from the story goes, and he tried to keep it open, but unfortunately he had to close. And White Brothers had been around for, well, say 50 years. So these were the roads that I used to zoom around on. Sometimes taking the baffles out of the exhaust of the Fizzy. Whee! It was bloody fantastic. So when I was 17, you could get any size bike you wanted. If you'd passed your test, which I hadn't, but as a learner you could go up to 250. And I bought a Suzuki, the old Suzy GT 250. And zoomed around these roads a little bit faster. But this is the area, Middleton and Teesdale, where my dad was based. Where he used to go around. Very similar to the programme, I don't know if you've ever watched it, Heartbeat. That was based on the North Yorkshire Moors, a place called Gulfland. Well, he did exactly the same, in exactly the same vehicles, exactly the same uniforms, because it was done at exactly the same time for Durham Dales. And he said he wanted to write a book about all the tales and the stories he could tell from being up here. But he never did. It could have been, instead of Heartbeat, it could have been Teesbeat. Because somebody had the same idea at the same time and wrote a series of books. You see, you shouldn't put off the ideas that you have. You shouldn't put them off at all, you should just do them. My dad lived up there, middle house of the M3, that's where my brother was born. Down that road there, that was the police station, down Chapel Row, and that's where my sister was born. Used to hang around these streets, Fizzy up and down the streets. But it's just along here where my dad's bench is. a memorial to the place he loved the most. Middleton in Teesdale. And this is it. This is his bench. In loving memory of Sergeant George W. Lear, 16th of the 3rd, 35 to 14/10, 2011. He spent his most memorable years here in glorious Teesdale. So we can continue to keep a lookout from the hill, watching over the area that he simply fell in love with.